What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P. the Blunt Guy. Hey! And we are back with another Berserk read through. Today we will be reading chapter 23. Also, the title of this chapter is The Master of the Sword, Chapter 2, for all you people who follow the novels and the chronological, the order of the chapters might be different to you. I don't know. But chronologically, if you start from the very first Berserk chapter, this is going to be the 23rd Berserk chapter. But if you read this through the novel, it will, or through the books or whatever, it's The Master of the Sword, chapter 2. But yeah, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Also, let me know what you think of the chapter. Let me know your thoughts on the series overall. And hey, tell me how you feel about these chapter read-throughs, right? But yeah, also follow me on Twitch so you could catch these live streams live and you can engage with me in real time. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and come be a part of my community. Join the Discord. All of these will be linked in the description box below. So yes, let's get into this chapter. Last chapter, Griffith and Berserk escaped Zod. Griffith was healing, and Guts went to go visit Griffith, but he couldn't because there were like nobles and all these, important people in whatever kingdom they're at the moment. And, so Berserk had a little encounter, a little fight, might I say, with Casca. And then he went to go train off by himself. And then eventually Griffith caught up with Guts and we ended the chapter with them two talking, right? Just to kind of solidify their relationship. That's pretty much what I'm getting from these chapters. It's just kind of to really showcase their relationship before the eventual fall of Griffith, So, without any further ado, let's get into this next chapter. Again, this is chapter 23 chronologically, and the title of this chapter is The Master of the Sword, chapter 2. Alright, so we are on the cover page where we got Griffith and Guts talking. Well, I mean, even before all that, we had the first cover page, because I think it'd be like multiple cover pages, right? The first cover page, we got Guts, who seemed to be holding what looks to be Casca, and they're like in a little cave, or kind of like when you have big trees, right? And the trees the roots are kind of coming out the ground and they form kind of a cave. I don't know what you call that, but if you let me know in the comments if you guys know what that's called, when like these big trees have kind of like little caves on the bottom that the roots cause or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, Griffith is holding Casca, who seems to be like naked, right? So yeah, that might be signs of what I've been speculating this whole time. The whole little spawning of a potential relationship among Guts and Casca. Casca puts on this whole front like she don't like Guts, but that's usually kind of to show them eventually, coming together. You get a lot of movies like that where the girl, she hates the guy because he's like annoying or whatever, then she falls in love with him, and that's kind of the type of dynamics I see with Casca and Guts. But yeah. All right, so moving on, we get the cover page with the actual title of the chapter, and we got Guts and Griffith talking on that little steps, that little flight of steps that Guts was training on last chapter. And Griffith says, "Tell me, do I need a reason each time I put myself in harm's way for your sake?" So yeah, this is like leaving off on the last chapter. So Guts is like looking at Griffith, and Griffith is looking back at Guts, like look like Maybe it's Maybelline commercial, like he's posing, like, hey, bruh. It's like a little a bromance right here. I'm telling you. And then Gut says, "No, I just." And then somebody shows up. We see like the foot of somebody. Look like they might be like a royal member or something. I'm not sure. And they say, "Why, it's the White Hawk. Have your injuries healed?" So okay, so it's like a king. It's the king, the same king who knighted Griffith. And he got a guy behind him, and the guy kind of looked like an older version of Griffith. You know, got the same hairstyle and everything. He also had two knights behind him to the right. But yeah, the one guy kind of looked like Griffith though. Looked like an older version of Griffith. At least when you see his hair, he has like the same hairstyle, same flowing hairstyle as Griffith. And yeah, we get a close up of the king's face as he looks down at them. So Griffith says, "Why, Your Majesty?" And Griffith is kneeling, but Guts is still on his feet. He don't care. he don't care. Or he. It's not that he don't care. I don't think Guts is really aware of like customs such as kneeling to a king or anything. You know. And so the older version of Griffith says, "You there?" Or no, well, Griffith says, "Hey, Guts," because Guts ain't kneeling. And then the older version of Griffith says, "You there? You are before the king. How dare you?" And then we see Guts finally take a knee. And then the king says, "No matter. Raise your heads. I am simply on a stroll." And then older Griffith says, "But sire." And the king says, "The castle is teeming with agitation from all the successive battles and war councils. There is not even a moment's rest to be had. Let me introduce you. This is my younger brother, Count Julius. He is general of the White Dragons and second in succession to the throne of Midland." Okay, so the older version of Griffith. That's what I was going to call him, but you know, now that we got a name, you know, his name is Count Julius, and he is is he the older brother, the younger brother of the king, Count Julius. The dude looked just like Griffith though, man. He looked just like Griffith. Well, not just like Griffith, but he looks like an older version, at least. And then Griffith says, "I am Griffith. Pleased to make your acquaintance." And Julius says, "Hmm." Then the king says, "Incidentally, Sir Griffith, the battlefield exploits of your band of the Hawk are always most impressive." And Griffith says, "My gracious, thanks." And the king says, when I see the daring valor with which you all fight, it makes even the old man's blood seem to boil. I recall when of old my subjects and I would run about the battlefield, alas, when I was young." Julius says, "Sire, speaking that way with a mere troop commander." And then the king says, "Come, there is no wrong in it." And then I think, is it Griffith? He says, "It is true that there are statesmen who do not think favorably of such people. They say that the influence of those of common origin will reflect poorly on our army's prestige." Is that the king talking? Because it looked like those quote bubbles are pointing at Griffith. Not too sure. But the king says, "But prestige, status, and the like do not win battles, nor do they feed the people. These are troubled times. I anticipate that rather than noble generals who are bound to old customs, it is common draftees such as yourself, not taken in by status, who will help from the cornerstones of the kingdom." And Julius, Julius is not feeling this conversation whatsoever. He might be one of them guys you gotta look out for in the future. I feel, he doing a little, he hating a little too hard. And then Griffith says, "For your sincere words of thanks, I am most grateful." All right, so we see the king and his men, and there is a girl behind the king, a young woman. Looks to possibly be a princess. She looked like she's a princess or something. She got like what looks to be a crown. So yes, I'm assuming she's either the queen. Maybe she's like, because back in the day, they would marry young women. Kings would even marry like underage women, like women like 15, 16. So she could be the queen, or she could be the king's daughter and be the princess. I'm not too sure at the moment, but it is a young woman though. Looks like she's like very young. So Griffith says, "Who might that lady be?" He asks the king, and the king says, "Oh, my daughter, Charlotte. She is shy. She claims to dislike stern soldiers, and seldom does she venture outside the palace." Okay, so we got the name of this young woman. Her name is Charlotte, and she is indeed the king's daughter, making her to be the princess, not the queen. Not the queen. The king says, "Charlotte," and he like waves at her. And I think like when they do that, like especially in like some, like back in the day, or at least in Japan, or I don't know, some cultures, how like when you want somebody to come here, you say come here. Some do like this or something, like that's how they wave for you to come there. Weird. I don't want to say it's weird because it's a cultural thing. To them that makes sense. To us this makes sense. So I don't want to say that's weird, but with our customs, it seems a little weird, right? Because this is like saying, like come my way here, where this is like it seems like you're telling them to go down or something, or go away, go away. So the king says, "Charlotte," and she's like hiding behind the wall with her head down. And the king says, "Just as you see, perhaps because she is my only daughter, I have spoiled her to some degree. Excuse her, Lord Griffith." And so the king and Count Julius and the soldiers, they all pass Guts and Griffith, and then the princess is right behind them, and then she passes Griffith, and she trips on like a piece of the ground that's not like that's like a brick from the ground, kind of protruding. It's not smooth. It's like a protruding brick from the ground. We see her foot get caught on that brick, and she falls forward, and Griffith manages to catch her. Okay, I see Griffith about to have a little thing. He about to have a little thing. And like she's holding her arm, and I bet she done fell in love. She done fell in love. Griffith says, "Your pardon? Please be careful." And then Count Julius says, "How dare you touch the princess, you bastard?" And then he backhands the hell out of Griffith. It's like old Griffith smacking the hell out of new Griffith. But if Griffith would have let her fall, like it's a lose-lose situation, because if Griffith would have let her fall, I mean, maybe he wouldn't have got smacked, but the girl would have got hurt, and then it would have been like, oh, he would have been a douchebag for doing. He would have been an asshole for allowing it. But you catch her, this happens, And then Guts says, "Hey, pal." And then Griffith holds Guts back. Griffith got this creepy ass face. Like, it's like one of them like, "Oh, I'm gonna be kind to you right now, but I got something for you later. Like, it's like one of them type of faces. And he says, please pardon my rudeness, your lordship, General Julius. And then you see Julius sweating like he done messed up. And then the king looks back. So the king was unaware of all this. And the king says, what are you doing? Nothing at all, father, says the princess. And then General Julius says, now, let us go, princess. So the princess is, I guess she follows, and we see a pic of Griffith and the princess just eyeing each other down. You know what I think could be the case? Maybe Griffith is going to use this as a way, maybe, because I always talk about how Griffith and Guts got the little bromance, but, maybe Griffith do have, like, feelings for Guts or something. I don't know, right? It could be the case. But maybe he might see this as an opportunity to make the princess fall in love with him so he could get more power, right? Just saying, just saying. But Griffith do genuinely seem a little interested in this princess. Like, he, a little love at first sight trope and stuff we see. So she looks back, and then eventually she walks off down the steps. And Griffith is just watching, and Guts is watching Griffith. Now Guts is jealous. Guts is jealous. Oh, jealous ass Guts. Chill, man. Your little hubby. Let your hubby, you got your girl Casca. Let your hubby get his girl, the princess. Y'all good. Y'all good. Come on now. Guts is smiling though, so Guts seem a little happy for Griffith. Guts seem a little happy for Griffith. So we see Julius walking through like the town, right? And we see like three ladies talking by like a water fountain. And General Julius like walks in. I guess he catches them. I guess he's about to listen to what they say. And they say, oh, but did you hear? Says one of the women. They say that thanks to his merit in his last battle, Lord Griffith could be made a count. I did hear that, says one of the women. And then we got one of the women, and they said, he is just superb, even prettier than me, and I'm a woman. How frustrating. Hate. And then the other one says, not only that, he's leader of the strongest military group in the kingdom and the best swordsman. It's just too much. And then the third one says, yes, that is. And then the one who says Griffith was prettier says, he's so elegant and dignified, it's hard to believe he's a commoner just like us. And then the other one says, and he's so much more refined than those awkward aristocrats. On that note, the officers in the castles are all so boorish and rude. It's disgusting. And then one of the women said, the other officers are pitiful compared to Lord Griffith. Oh, yes, says the other one. And then the third one says, right. And then General Julius says, hey, you maidservants, what are you chattering about? And then they run off and say, there you go. And then General Julius says, chirping sparrows. Yo, Julius is hating right now. He hating that young Julius, his younger version, Griffith, is getting all the women. He is being a hater. We see some guy walking up to Julius, and they say, such a loud shout will resound throughout the entire castle. And then General Julius says, Minister false. And we got this bald guy, tipping his hat towards Julius. He says, you seem most disturbed, Lord Julius. So this is Minister false. And then False says, does something concern you? Julius says, it's nothing. And then False has like that one-eyed look, like, ooh, like he's about to use this situation to his advantage. And he says, incidentally, General, did you hear the debate about the King's Guard for the upcoming autumn hunt? It's customary that be left each year to my white dragon knights, but what? Yeah, that was General Julius talking. I thought it was the other guy talking. False says, I hear it was determined by the king's command that this year it will be the band of the hawk. And then Julius says, what? And he's, oh boy, this is only going to make Julius hate even harder. This is going to make Julius hate even harder than he was already hating. And Julius says, that can't be. The autumn hunt is an important event for the king to foster goodwill among his lords. And then it looks like Julius like grabs False by like the collar. And he says, guarding his majesty should be an honorable duty permitted only to fall upon the white dragons, who have always been part of the regular army. To think that until yesterday the band of robbers could be promoted, and then what could his majesty be thinking? Says Julius. And then False says, woo. Because Julius lets False go. And False says, are you certain this is permissible? And then Julius says, what? And I think False says, it seems that the glory of the White Dragon Knights, formerly admired as our kingdom's mightiest, has faded due to the recent activities of the Band of the Hawk. One wonders if the name of the courageous General Julius will end up being erased by that Griffith. And then Julius says, how dare you? So False, he trying to stir the pot right now. He trying to stir the pot. He trying to manipulate all these events. I don't know what his end goal is, because guys like this usually have some type of end goal. Maybe he's trying to manipulate. Maybe he wants to help Julius. So after helping Julius, maybe he's in better graces with Julius if he helps Julius. So that's his little goal, to gain more power. So now we starting to see a little bit more of the political and diplomatic side of the series, So yeah, I think that's what we about to get. So we might fall back from any action and events and everything, and it looks like we about to get into some political warfare right now. But let's go. False says, it is a rumor told by many. Is it really a rumor, or did you create this rumor? I'm curious. Is it like a real rumor with some real backing behind it, or did False create this just to stir the pot a little bit? And then False says, however, one cannot scorn his ability on the battlefield. And then we get like a shot of Griffith in his armor leading his cavalry. And False is talking. He says that the band of the Hawk is ever victorious is an indisputable fact. He is surely a godsend in our time of conflict. This guy kind of reminds me of the Count. Like False kind of reminds me of the Count. No wonder I don't like him. False says the fighting shows no sign of ending soon. In such case, he will continue to distinguish himself militarily. Furthermore, the way he has integrated himself, His Majesty seems to have placed a terribly high value on the boy. If we aren't careful, Griffith might even reach the level of general. And Julius is just like his hair looks fiery, and he says, ridiculous. I won't accept it. Bro, this man Julius about to have a nervous breakdown. I've never even heard of a common born general. That boy a general like me? You mean that humble commoner will speak to me on the same level? Bruh, this man Julius is about to have a brain aneurysm or a heart attack or something. Foss says, such a possibility does exist, it is said. Then Julius says, never. I swear I'll never accept it. And then Foss got like that little evil looking look. And then Foss says, however, speaking of customary events, hunting is an inherently dangerous thing. One never knows what kind of beast may be concealed in the forest and thickets. And then Julius says, say what? Adam says, might as well call Julius Green Bull. Right? Just trying to kiss up, right? Foss says, at times, an unexpectedly dangerous beast may lie in hiding. And then Julius says, what do you mean to say? And then Foss says, or perhaps a stray arrow meant to strike prey could at some point fly wildly. A stray arrow well covered in poison. Okay, so I guess he's saying like, hey, I don't know if he's insinuating that you go send Griffith off for a hunt. Like maybe like Julius takes Griffith out hunting, right? And then he accidentally kills Griffith with like a poison arrow. Or let's say maybe during a battle, you know, like a accidental friendly fire type situation. One of the two is what I'm getting at. That's what this man is trying to insinuate. And then Julius, cause like when you think about it, he can't flat out say, "Hey, you should kill Griffith." You know, he can't flat out say that, cause then that would be like conspiracy. You know, you trying to kill you conspiring to kill one of the king's like men that he actually liked. You know, that could probably put you in bad graces with the king if you do something like that. So if you just kind of, you know, go about in a roundabout way to suggest this, you know, you could have like that like, oh, I didn't say kill him. You know what I'm saying? And then Julius says, you couldn't possibly. Foss says, a stray arrow, General. And we see the general's face. And he says, ha ha, ha 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 ha. It's like he's going psycho right now. A stray arrow, eh? Man, this man Foss, man. Stirring the pot, man. Stirring that pot. And then Julius says, a fitting way for a commoner to die. And then he walks off as Foss looks on. And then we see Foss with that creepy, menacing face. So we get a shot of the town and it looks to be snowing right now. And we see Guts laying on top of a roof with his sword pointing to the sky, to the moon. And then Guts is looking at the moon and we see Griffith's face in the moon. And he says, tell me, do I need a reason each time I put myself in harm's way for your sake? And then Gus is just looking, thinking, and he says, for your sake, huh? So we see what looks to be like a young Guts. Kind of, from a distance, it looked like it might be a younger Guts. And he's looking at the sky and it says, that one time, it was this same sort of luringly bright full moon. It looks like he's like in a puddle of water too. Then Guts like gets up and he clutches his sword and he says, I don't know if this is the answer I was searching for or not. But for now, I'll wield my sword for his sake. And then that is Master of the Sword, Chapter 2, End. Alright, so yeah. That is the chapter. So we pretty much start where we left off last chapter with Guts and Griffith continuing their conversation about, the events of the battle with Zod. And the king shows up. The king also has his brother who's the General Julius. And General Julius off rip doesn't really like Griffith and Guts. First off, because Guts didn't kneel right away when the king showed up. And so he yelled at Guts like, hey, you're supposed to kneel. And then Griffith's like, hey, bro. He's telling Guts, hey, you should kneel. You should kneel. Like, get on your knee or whatever. And so Julius is not liking Griffith, I guess, because he's a commoner and the king, his older brother, likes Griffith, right? So off rip, he's not too fond of Griffith. And then we're introduced to the princess, who's very shy. The king says she's spoiled and everything, young, beautiful woman, right? So they end up walking past Griffith and Guts, but the princess, Charlotte, that's her name, Charlotte, she trips on like a protruding stone on the steps, and Griffith manages to catch her from falling down the steps. Possibly. Like she could have just fell on the ground, or she could have fell down the steps. I don't know. But she would have fell most definitely. And Julius sees it, and he just sees oh, don't you ever touch the princess, and he smacks the hell out of Griffith. And Griffith apologizes, said, sorry for my rudeness. Hey, I'm sorry, whatever. And Griffith and the princess like are staring at each other, like it's like one of them lustful love at first sight situations, and that's what it seems like it's leading to. Griffith and the princess having a little attachment somehow, right? So she ended up walking away from Griffith, and the king and Julius and the princess all leave, and then we end up cutting to what seems to be the courtyard, where we have 3 maids, I assume, because I think Julius called them maid servants or whatever, and they're talking about Griffith, how pretty he is, how he's successful, how he's more dignified than the people in the court and all that. But Julius overhears this, and Julius is going to be the ultimate hater because he don't like how they're praising Griffith, but how they're pretty much shitting on people like him, right? So he interrupts and they run off, and then Foss, this guy Foss shows up. I forget what he is. He's like a guy. What is he? I forget what his title is. Minister. He's a minister. So Minister Foss shows up, and he's trying to stir the pot, talking about like, hey, I hear Griffith is going to be pretty much acting as the security detail for the king during this event that's coming up, and it's usually the job of Julius. So Julius like, hold on, that's my event. What you talking about? And we don't know if this is true, but this could just be Foss stirring the pot, right? Like Foss could just be lying just to manipulate stuff. And then Foss like, well, it is just hearsay. We don't really know if any of that is true. But even if it ain't, the rate that Griffith is going with his favor of the king, and the fact that he's constantly winning battles, the man could be a general. he could be equal to you. And Julius is like, oh, this man equal to me? No, I'm not liking that. I'm not liking that. I would hate for a commoner to be spoken, his name to be spoken in the same breath as me, Julius, Lord Julius. And so Foss just stirs the pot, and Julius is just furthermore falling into his haterade, And Foss says, look, this could be solved if he was to accidentally die from a stray arrow during a hunt or probably battle. We don't know. I don't know. And so Julius is finally picking up what Foss is putting down, and he's laughing, and he walks off, and Foss is looking menacing, and that's the end of that situation. And then we cut to Guts, who's on top of a roof, and he's thinking about what Griffith is, and Guts pretty much pledges his sword to Griffith even further. And yeah, that pretty much is the chapter. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Also, let me know your thoughts on the chapter of how this arc is so far. What you thought of the read through, let me know. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitch so you can catch these live streams live as I do them, and you can engage with me in real time. And follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, make sure you become a part of the community. Join the Discord. So yeah, great chapter overall. Great chapter overall. Anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean Peter Bluff Guy, and I'm out of here. Peace.